Look, what's going down at Hallis Hall right now is a full-blown storm of chaos that should have every Bears fan on edge. While the guy holding the checkbook is pushing a stadium project that completely goes against what our offensive coordinator is saying publicly about our home field edge, we've got a game in less than 48 hours where our secondary is hanging by a thread and something's spreading through the locker room that's already got 5 players sick. 803 special team snaps are on the line, backups are out, and there's a real chance this whole thing blows up just as we head out to California. A starter at a critical position is questionable. We've got no healthy replacement, and the Niners are going to target that weakness without mercy. This isn't some made-up drama. This is a real ticking time bomb that could blow up Sunday night and wreck the whole season. Stick around, because what's coming next is brutal. I've been covering this team for years, and what I just found out has my head spinning. Kevin Warren, our CEO and president, has been pushing this new stadium project everywhere. Cook County, the city of Chicago, even Northwest Indiana. The guy's desperate to land funding for a shiny new dome with more suites and fewer seats for fans. But here's where it gets wild. This is the part that should make every single one of us stop and think. On Wednesday, Declan Doyle, our offensive coordinator, came out and said something that completely undercuts Warren's entire vision. You hearing this? When asked about that 46-yard overtime touchdown pass from Caleb Williams to DJ Moore that beat the Packers, Doyle explained why Soldier Field is actually a competitive advantage for us. He said, "We feel like it's an advantage for us because it gets windy, we've got to play in the elements, and we feel like we've got a quarterback who can cut through the wind a bit, no matter where we're playing or what the conditions are. We feel like he can throw the ball well." So let me ask you straight up. If the offensive coordinator is out here saying Soldier Field gives us a competitive edge, why the hell are we trying to build a dome? I'll tell you what I think. There's a massive disconnect between the people making business decisions and the people who actually understand football in this organization. Think about it. For decades, Chicago has been known for bear weather. Warm weather teams come here in December and January and freeze. That wind off Lake Michigan makes it nearly impossible for visiting quarterbacks to throw. That's been our identity since the monsters of the Midway. And now we've got a quarterback in Caleb Williams who can thrive in those conditions while others struggle. I'm telling you, if Warren gets his dome, we're losing one of the last real home field advantages we've got. No more bear weather, no more freezing out southern teams at Soldier Field. All of that disappears under a closed roof. And look, I get the business side. More suites means more money. A modern stadium brings in events. But let me ask you this. When did we become a team that prioritizes corporate suites over winning football games? Because that's exactly what's happening here. Doyle said they believe Caleb can cut through the wind. That's huge. That means the coaching staff sees Caleb as someone who can use the weather to our advantage. But in a dome, that edge is gone. And here's what really ticks me off. Warren's been shopping this stadium plan all over, and every version he pitches is less fan-friendly than the last. Fewer seats, more suites, all designed to maximize profits instead of fan experience or team performance. Soldier Field isn't perfect. I know that. The capacity doesn't stack up to other NFL stadiums. But it brings atmosphere. It brings that home field edge Doyle's talking about. And honestly, if Warren keeps getting blocked from building this new stadium, while Ben Johnson keeps winning games, we should all be celebrating. Because I'll say it straight. The stadium Warren wants to build is trash for real fans. It's a stadium built for corporations, not for the folks from the South Side and North Side who've bled navy and orange for generations. So I ask you, would you rather have a shiny new stadium where we lose our home field edge, or keep Soldier Field where Caleb Williams can use the wind as a weapon? I know my answer. And look at the timing. Just when we finally have a team that can compete, just when we've got a quarterback who can thrive in our weather, the CEO is pushing a plan that would erase that advantage. It makes zero sense from a football standpoint. I think this disconnect between Warren and the coaching staff runs deeper than we think. Doyle's talking about competitive edges. Warren's talking about revenue. Those are two completely different conversations. And here's the delicious irony. Warren hasn't been able to get traction on any of his plans. Cook County's not interested. The city of Chicago isn't giving him the funding he wants. Even his Indiana pitch seems to be dying on the vine. And you know what? Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe the universe is protecting us from ourselves. Because while Warren's out here chasing a dome, Ben Johnson is using Soldier Field exactly how it should be used, as a home field weapon. And it's working. We beat the Packers in overtime with Caleb throwing a 46-yard bomb in conditions that would have wrecked lesser quarterbacks. Let me ask you this. How many games have we won at Soldier Field this year specifically because visiting teams couldn't handle the weather? I'm telling you, it's more than you think. And look, I get it. We're going to need a new stadium eventually. Soldier Field won't last forever. But when that time comes, we need a stadium that keeps our competitive edge, not one that wipes it out in the name of corporate profits. I believe, with everything I've got, that this story should make every Chicago fan stop and think about what kind of team we want to be. Do we want to be a team that wins with home field edge and an intimidating atmosphere? Or a team with a pretty stadium that gives us no edge at all? The answer should be obvious, but clearly it's not obvious to Kevin Warren. Now let's talk about the game that actually matters, the one that's less than 48 hours away. And we've got good news and bad news, and I'm giving you both because you deserve the full picture. The good news, the part that should get you hyped, is that Luther Burden III is back. The rookie went through a full practice on Friday and was removed from the injury report, which means he's playing Sunday night against San Francisco. And let me tell you why this is massive, why this changes our offense completely. Burden leads our receivers in yards after catch per reception with 7.0. That's huge. When Caleb throws to Burden, his passer rating is 115.5, the second highest on the team, behind only Colston Loveland. The guy's got speed, he's elusive, he's everything you want in a modern receiver. And against the Browns on December 14th, Burden had 6 catches, his season high. He was finding his rhythm, becoming a real threat in the passing game. And now we've got him back for the biggest game of the year. But here comes the bad news. The part that stings. Rome Odunze is out. Again! This'll be the 4th straight game he misses due to a stress fracture in his foot. And look, I get it. He needs to heal. We can't risk his long-term health. But losing Odunze right now for this game is a massive blow. Let me ask you, how are we supposed to keep up with the Niners in what could be a shootout when we're down one of our most reliable receivers? I'm telling you, it's going to take some serious stepping up from the rest of the squad. And here's where things get really dicey. Our slot corner, CJ Gardner-Johnson, is questionable with a knee injury. Now the trend is positive. He had a full practice Friday, but questionable means questionable. No guarantees. And if Gardner-Johnson can't go, or if something happens during the game, we're in serious trouble because our backup in the slot, Nick McLeod, has already been ruled out due to illness. And our third slot DB, Josh Blackwell, is also questionable with illness. Let me ask you straight up, what happens if Gardner-Johnson goes down in the first quarter and we've got no healthy replacement? That's a nightmare scenario that could become reality Sunday night. Ben Johnson talked about it Friday. It's that time of year. I doubt we're the only team dealing with this, he said. We're washing hands, being real careful. Guys are wearing masks, doing what we can. Whoever's available on game day, we'll go win with them. If a guy can't go, we'll be ready. I think Johnson's putting on a brave face. But deep down, he's got to be worried. How could he not be when your entire slot corner depth is sick? And look, this illness has been ripping through the team all week. 5 players were listed on the injury report with illness. That's almost unheard of. And 2 of them didn't practice Friday. Now, there's some good news on the illness front. Linebacker DeMarco Jackson and return man Devin Duvernay were also sick, but both were removed from the injury report. That's positive. And with Blackwell, the fact that the game's still more than 48 hours away means he could be good to go by then. But we've also got Nahshon Wright, listed as questionable with a hamstring issue and illness. And his situation looks worse than the others. He didn't practice Friday and was limited the rest of the week. If Wright can't go, we're rolling with the starting duo we expected back in the preseason. Tyreek Stevenson and Jalen Johnson. And you know what? Maybe that's not so bad. Maybe going back to that duo is exactly what we need. But here's my real concern, my biggest worry. It's not just about who can or can't play. It's about the timing of all this. We're about to play the biggest game of the season, a Sunday night showdown under the lights against a team also fighting for the top seed in the conference. And we're dealing with health issues that are completely out of our control. Let me ask you, how many teams can survive losing their number 2 receiver, having their slot corner questionable, and dealing with a virus ripping through the locker room? I'm telling you, not many. But this Bears team has shown all year that they can overcome adversity. TJ Edwards is questionable with a glute injury, but practiced Friday in a limited capacity for the first time this week. That's encouraging. And guard Luke Newman is being considered for a return to the roster and is questionable after a foot injury landed him on IR. I believe, with everything I've got, that this game is going to be a true test of the next man up mentality Johnson's been preaching all season. Because we're going to need guys we didn't expect to step up in a big way. And look at the irony. We get Burden back, huge for the offense, but we lose Odunze. Massive blow. Gardner Johnson is trending up, but our backups are sick or out. It's like the universe is balancing things out, giving us hope with one hand and snatching it away with the other. But here's what I know, what I truly believe. This team found ways to win ugly early in the season. Then they started passing the eye test in late November. And now they've got a shot to grab a primetime road win against a team also gunning for the top seed. The Bears have overcome a lot in 2025, and no matter the outcome, they've grown through every challenge. This is just another one, another test of how far this team has come. Let me ask you, do you believe this team can win at Levi's Stadium without Odunze? Possibly without slot corner depth and with players battling illness? I'm telling you, I do. I believe in this team. I believe in Ben Johnson. I believe in Caleb Williams. But I'm not going to lie. I'm worried. This injury and illness situation is serious, and it's hitting at the worst possible time. And now we get to the part that's really got me worried, the part that could end up being the deciding factor in this Sunday night game. Because while everyone's focused on who's hurt and who's healthy, there's something spreading through the Hallis Hall locker room that's got the coaching staff literally washing their hands. 5 different players were listed on the injury report this week with illness. 5. And we're not talking about practice squad guys or end-of-the-roster bodies. We're talking about key contributors, especially on special teams. Josh Blackwell, Nick McLeod, Devin Duvernay, and DeMarco Jackson. Those 4 alone have combined for 803 special teams snaps this season. 803! That's a massive chunk of our special teams unit potentially compromised by illness. And then there's Narshawn Wright, our outside corner, who's been playing at an all-pro level this year, also dealing with illness on top of a hamstring issue. Let me ask you, when was the last time you saw 5 players on one team listed with illness in the same week? I can't remember it. This is rare. This is concerning. And it's happening at the worst possible time. Ben Johnson tried to downplay it on Friday. It's that time of year. I doubt we're the only team dealing with this, he said. We're washing hands, being really careful. Guys are wearing masks, doing what we can. But I'm telling you, Johnson's more worried than he's letting on. How could he not be when you've got to tell your players to wear masks and wash their hands constantly because something's going around the locker room? Oh. And look, Johnson's right that we're probably not the only team dealing with this. It's late December. It's flu season. This stuff happens. But that doesn't make it any less concerning when you're about to play the biggest game of your season. After Friday's practice, no new players were added to the injury report with illness. That's a good sign. It means this thing might not be spreading further. But McLeod is already ruled out, and Blackwell and Wright are still questionable. Jackson and Duvernay were full participants and should be good to go against the Niners. That's encouraging. And with Blackwell, the fact that the game's still more than 48 hours away means he might recover in time. Let's just hope nothing else spreads while the team preps for travel. But here's what really keeps me up at night thinking about this game. It's not just about who's sick now. It's about who might get sick between now and Sunday. It's about players possibly battling symptoms during the game. It's about the chance this spreads even more once we're in California. Let me ask you, what happens if more players get sick after we land in Santa Clara? What if someone wakes up Sunday feeling awful and can't suit up? Those are variables completely out of our control, and that's terrifying. Johnson said, whoever's available on game day, we'll go win with them. If a guy can't go, we'll be ready. And I believe in that mindset. I believe in the next man up approach. But there's a limit to how many next men you can rely on before the quality starts to drop. And look at the specific situation with our slot corners. Gardner Johnson is questionable with a knee. McLeod is out with illness. Blackwell is questionable with illness. That's our entire depth at that position, potentially compromised. I'm telling you, if something happens to Gardner Johnson during the game, we're in serious trouble. We don't have a healthy, reliable backup ready to step in, and the Niners are going to exploit that. George Kittle is going to live in the slot. Christian McCaffrey is going to run routes out of the backfield. They're going to attack that weakness without mercy. And it's not just defense. Our special teams could be seriously compromised. 803 combined snaps from 4 players who've been sick this week. That's huge. That could affect kickoff coverage, punt coverage, returns, everything. Let me ask you, how many games have been decided by special teams? I'm telling you, it's more than people think. A blocked punt, a long kickoff return, a fumble on a return. Any of those can flip a game. And all of them become more likely when your special teams unit is compromised. I believe, with all sincerity, that this illness situation is potentially more dangerous than any of our injuries. Because at least with injuries, you know who's out and you can plan around it. But with illness, it's unpredictable, it's volatile, it can change hour by hour. And look at the timing. This isn't some mid-season game against a bottom feeder. We're playing for the top seed in the NFC. We're playing in prime time, on the road, against a San Francisco team that's also fighting for playoff position. This is the kind of game where you need everyone available. You need full depth. You can't afford to have 5 players questionable with illness. But here's the thing. Here's what I have to remind myself. This Bears team has battled adversity all season. They've found ways to win when no one gave them a shot. They've grown and improved with every challenge. Johnson said they're being diligent, doing everything they can to stop this from spreading. And I trust that. I trust the medical staff is doing everything possible to keep players healthy. But at the end of the day, some things are out of our control. And that's what makes this situation so frustrating, so scary. Because no matter how well you prepare, no matter how good your game plan is, if your players are sick, you're at a disadvantage. Let me ask you, have you ever tried to do intense physical activity while fighting off a cold or the flu? It's miserable. Your body doesn't respond right. Your energy's low. Your focus is off. Now imagine trying to play professional football like that against one of the best teams in the NFC. I'm telling you, we're going to learn a lot about this team's character Sunday night, because they're going to have to overcome not just a tough opponent in a hostile environment, but health issues that are completely out of their hands. And you know what? Maybe that's exactly the kind of adversity this team needs to overcome to prove they're legit contenders. Maybe this is the test that separates them from the pretenders. But I'm not going to lie, I'm worried, I'm nervous, and you should be too. Because this illness situation is serious, and it could be the factor that decides whether we win or lose Sunday night. Look, we just broke down 3 massive stories shaping this week for the Chicago Bears. First, we've got our CEO pushing a stadium plan that would erase the competitive advantages our own offensive coordinator says are key to our success. Let me ask you, does that make any sense to you? Because it sure doesn't to me. Second, we've got Luther Burden coming back, which is huge. But we're losing Rome Odunze again. And our slot corner depth is hanging by a thread. Let me ask you, can the Bears overcome these personnel losses against a Niners team playing their best football? And third, we've got an illness ripping through the locker room that's left 5 key players questionable or ruled out for the biggest game of the year. Let me ask you, is this the adversity that finally breaks this team? Or is it just another chance to prove they're the real deal? I believe we're going to find out exactly what this team is made of Sunday night. And I need you right here with me for every second of it. Because this is more than just a YouTube channel. This is a family. This is a community of Chicago Bears fans who bleed navy and orange, who've suffered through years of heartbreak, and who finally have something to believe in. I've been with you through the Trubisky era. I've been with you through the Nagy firing. I've been with you through every high and low of this franchise. And now, when we finally have a team that can contend for a championship, I need you with me. If you're not subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button right now, because I guarantee you, we've got more explosive updates coming tomorrow. I guarantee you, we'll be here covering every twist, every injury report, every moment of this playoff push, and you can't miss what's coming for Chicago. You can't miss the analysis, the reactions, the takes. You won't hear anywhere else because I'm not like those national analysts who barely pay attention to the Bears. I live this. I breathe this. This is my life. Smash that like button if you think Kevin Warren is wrong about the stadium. Smash that, like if you believe Soldier Field gives us an edge, we should never give up. Because I need to know I'm not the only one who sees how crazy this all is. And let me know in the comments, do you believe this team can fight through all these health issues and win in San Francisco? Because I want to hear from you. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know if you're as nervously excited as I am. This Sunday night is going to be special. It's going to be one of those games we remember for years. And I need all of us in this together. Backing our Bears, believing in this team, trusting the process. Because this is Chicago. This is what we do. We stick together through everything. And when our moment finally comes, when we finally get that championship we've been chasing for decades, it'll be because we stayed loyal, we stayed strong, and we never stopped believing. Bear down. Family, I'll see you in the next video.